Scott Clark said there were two things money can't buy: true love and homegrown tomatoes. Anyway, I digress. I've alluded at several points to having had teenage parents, and that's a kind of part of the narrative of this record I put out, Exploding Trees and Airplane Screams. And but I also had this like amazing grandmother who was like, she was awesome, and my great uncle, and my grandmother, we all called her Sissy. Her name was Lila Ruth Patterson, but we called her Sissy. And I think her brothers called her that when they were all kids. And she was like Lana Turner. She was like this bombshell, beautiful woman, and it was really great to me. And then I'd spend every weekend at my great uncle's farm, her brother, and the farm that they all were born and raised on, about 8.5 miles from North Florence, Alabama, and a little community called McGeetown, which is also where Sam Phillips was from. And Sam Phillips went to high school with my grandmother, and I would spend every weekend out there on the farm. And my great uncle, he drove trucks for a living for International Harvester. He would deliver trucks to the dealerships, and then on Friday, he would take the Greyhound from wherever his last delivery was and come in time to get me after school and take me out to the farm. And I spent all weekend out there, and he would take me to movies, and I had a go-kart out there, and I'd ride with my cool older cousin Tommy. We would play Steve McQueen, Bullet, and all that. I wrote that song about all that. And then on Sunday afternoon, he'd take me and either leave me at my grandmother's or my parents' house, depending on the situation. And he would take the Greyhound all night back to Springfield, Ohio, to pick up another load of trucks and start the week over. And he did that every week from the time I was born until when he retired, when I was about a teenager. And my grandmother, she lived in this like mid-century modern house in North Florence in Norwood Park. And a cool house, and across the street was this little red brick house, and this older woman who lived alone, never married, never had kids. Her name was Ann Coldiron, and she was my godmother. And Ann Coldiron came from some money, and what they referred to as old money, and she also had some mental illness, and she had spent some time in and out of mental hospitals back in the 60s, back in those brutal days when it was like one flew over the cuckoo's nest. She had shock treatments. And at some point in the midst of all of that, her brother got power of attorney over her part of the estate, and he put her on a really tight allowance. So every time she'd ask for more money, he would remind her of her mental illness. And I learned at a young age about gaslighting, which has actually kind of come in handy here in 2025, because there's a lot of that shit going on, if you know what I mean. And so, but he did every 2 years or so let her buy a brand new Oldsmobile, and she'd buy the biggest goddamn Oldsmobile on the lot. And she didn't have a driver's license, and she couldn't drive it, but my grandmother would drive her around in it. My grandmother would run her errands and take her to the grocery store and the bank, and to pay the phone bill back when you had to do that shit in person and all that stuff. And so I spent a whole lot of my childhood in the back of Ann Coldiron's Oldsmobile. Coldiron's Oldsmobile's parked on the street, 10 miles to the gallon in red velvet seats. Sissy's gonna drive us anywhere he wants. She can run her errands and wash her clothes. Money in the bank and can't touch it all, 'cause when she asks your brother, he don't return her call. She gets her allowance and time goes marching on as another summer turns into fall, turns into fall. Turns into fall. This Coldiron's house needs another coat of paint. The yard needs cutting, the gutters clean, but it will have to wait. She says her air conditioner's poisoning the skies. Birds keep dropping dead in her yard. And Coldiron never married and she lives alone with emphysema and Shirley Temple dolls. Shirley Temple dolls from a childhood long ago, still kept in their boxes in the closet. In the closet. Sometimes an ambulance pulls in her drive, men in white gloves at the door while she hid inside. Cowering in the closet, she leave bound and tied. Shock treatments to make the dead birds subside. Her brother's at the country club every night till late. Black men in tuxedos pours bourbon straight. He gets their inheritance and paperwork that states he's the sole executor of the estate, the Coldiron estate. The Coldiron estate. When she asked for money, he'd remind her of the times the fumes would make the birds fall from the skies, fall from the skies, and the madness that implies lithium and tranquilizers, lithium and tranquilizers, tranquilizers. Coldiron's Oldsmobile's a Delta 88, so large it had a playground in the back seat. She couldn't drive, but Sissy took her everywhere. Anna and I would wait out in the parking lot.
Yeah.